Hey guys, Jesse from Pool Xenia here. Today I'm going to show you how to clean the cartridges inside of a cartridge filter. It's pretty simple, but there are little things that you need to know so that you don't do any damage, and then put this thing back together so it's not spraying water and leaking everywhere. First things first, we're going to need a couple tools. What I like to use is a drill with a socket on it so that we can undo this ring and pull the filter apart. You can use an adjustable wrench, it's just super slow, but an adjustable wrench or a socket and a soft hammer. Generally, I would like to use a rubber mallet. This thing is fully rubber, so it's not going to do any damage. Don't use a regular metal hammer. It'll cause damage to the locking ring and it'll bend it or something like that. It won't lock down properly, and then you'll have the pool, the filter will leak. And that's no good for anybody. So, what do we do first? First off, we shut the pool off. Pool has to be off. System has to be unpressurized. With a cartridge filter, normally you're gonna have something on the top. I've already released this. It's unpressurized and it's pretty much drained most of this filter down. If you don't do that, when you pull this locking ring off, it's gonna spray water everywhere, and it's gonna also be very hard to take this filter apart. So once this is off, this is depressurized, we can now take this locking ring off. Filters are generally the same, cartridge filters. Normally they'll have this locking ring. Some of them have a little bit different setup where they'll have multiple bolts all the way around that you have to undo, but most of them will have a locking ring, and all we're gonna do is just undo that locking ring. I like to use a drill. Take that right apart and just set that on the ground. Make sure what you take apart, you kind of keep all the pieces. There'll be multiple pieces there, and we'll just keep that out of the way for now. Then what we're gonna have to do is this might be pressured, might be suctioned down, so sometimes you might need a screwdriver. Normally you can just pick that up with your fingers. Take that lid off. There'll be something usually on top for the manifold to lock these in. I just rock that back and forth to pop that off. Set that aside as well. And now we can start taking these out one by one and cleaning them. You can see there that these are a little dirty already. These pleats should be fairly white, and they're not, so we're gonna clean these down and then get this thing back up and running. If there's a lot of debris inside of here, which there isn't in this pool, but if there is, what we wanna do is open up that drain plug in the bottom or vacuum out what's in here so that when we put these clean filters back in, it just doesn't get sucked back into the pleats, and then gum them up again. So make sure that this is completely dried out and empty, and then we're gonna hose that out as well and make sure that it's all nice and clean so that when we put these clean filters back in, everything is ready to operate as is brand new. Okay, here's the difference in what a clean filter or a cleaner filter and a still dirty filter look like. All we're gonna do is take a hose. Generally don't recommend pressure washing because it can rip these rings here. It can also rip the pleats and cause damage to the filter. These are not cheap, so we want to try and keep from damaging them as much as possible. A simple hose down will do more than enough to clean most of the debris out. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start spraying. We spray at the top and we're gonna work our way down. And you can see that filter start to come clean. You're gonna also see a lot of crap start coming out from the bottom with that brown colored water. And once this is all clean, it'll be clear water coming out of the bottom. And we're gonna go all the way from the top to the bottom. Okay. Once we've gone all the way around once, this is looking fairly decently clean. We're gonna do this one more time to each and every filter just to make sure that we get all of the fine debris out. So this is not going to be something that's fast. It should take you probably 5 minutes to complete each filter. There's gonna be 4 of them. So that's gonna be 20 minutes of spraying this hose. If you can do it a little bit quicker, great, but we're not trying to rush through this just to get them to look pretty and get them back in the system. We actually wanna clean these things. So I go around once, and then you'll see there's still some brown, there's still some stuff on here. I'm gonna go around again. Now, we're not gonna get all the staining out. It's impossible to have them look like they just came out of the box, but we can get them as clean as possible so that they last as long as possible, and then we don't have to do this over and over again throughout the summer. I'm gonna do this one more time, and then this one will be done, and we'll be ready to put it back in the filter. Okay, filters have been cleaned. Our bucket here has been cleaned. We've cleaned our O-ring, making sure that it is seated properly all the way around. So just do this. If it's not seated properly, it will pinch and this will leak. Next, what we're gonna do, they don't all look like this, but this is just to hold these in place here. Some will be a different style manifold. Make sure you don't forget to put this back on. If you don't set this invisible in plain view, you'll probably realize it after you get this all buttoned up, and it's a pain in the butt. Then you have to unbutton everything, take the lid off, and redo it all again just to get that little plastic piece on there. So everything's in, everything's locked nice and tight. We're gonna put our lid on. Make sure when we put our lid on that we just set it down as close to being centered as possible. Just kind of look all the way around. You don't want to kind of rock it back and forth, or else it might pop that O-ring off. Okay, that's seated really, really nice there. Pressure gauge is very visible. I'm gonna take our locking ring and we're just going to put it around and make sure that it is kind of on the entire filter everywhere. This is the biggest pain in the butt to do, especially if it's brand new and the spring has not yet kind of worn out. And all I do is I press my leg against it just to hold it, and we'll get that lined up properly. And then you can just hold it like that. Thread our nut back on slightly, just so this thing's not gonna fall off anywhere. Then we're gonna take our hammer and our adjustable wrench, or in my case, drill in a socket, and I'm just gonna put that on there and screw down. You're gonna screw down, and then every couple seconds, I'm just gonna go around and bang this ring on to kind of tighten it down. Screw it again, all the way around. You'll notice if that's seating properly or not. And when it's almost done, this will stop turning. We've got a little ways to go here still. There we go. That's nice and tight. That's how you clean a filter. That's how you take it apart, put it back together. This system is now ready to fire up, pressurize, and they can get back to swimming. Thanks.